Hey everyone, welcome to The Path of Me. I'm your host, Wendy Hutchinson, and I have the beautiful Maggie Goleniak from originally born in Poland, but now lives in the UK, and she's an intuitive artist. And I just want to welcome you. Thank you for joining us today, Maggie.
Thank you so much for having me here.
So how long, obviously you grew up in Poland and you got a fine arts degree at the University of Silesia. Is that how
Yeah,
you
that's
say it?
correct. Yeah.
Silesia. So tell me a little bit about, you're so divinely connected. Have you always been, since childhood, got connected with your higher self and the higher realms?
No, it wasn't. I mean, I would say no. I think we always connected. We just don't know it because we are being born as a divine beings, fully, connected with our guides, fully connected with the universe, with the galaxy, especially with our, resonance of our heart. So I think we are connected. We just don't know it. And I never knew that. I actually never knew that something like intuitive painting or intuitive art exists. We have not been shown that at the university or school because I don't know. It's just, I think school and universities are very rigid. They have the rules and the boxes, and so I think that never was shown to me. But I was always very creative from the very young child. I used to love coloring books. That was my favorite Christmas present. I know it sounds funny because nowadays kids get new laptop or whatever.
Right.
But for me, the coloring books were like the most incredible gifts I could have. And I used to sit for hours. I just loved the vibration from colors. But when I was young, I didn't really knew much about it. I just really enjoyed it, just to really coloring, black and white reality, so to speak. And then after school, thinking about different, directions, like we always do, where to go in life. The only thing I wanted to do was to do art, and especially in Poland, but I think around the globe we have this like stigma of like starving artists. So you do this art uni for like 5 years, and then you finish, and then you're like, okay, like what's next?
Yes.
Part of my uni was as well to be art teacher, because we had different subjects to do that too. But after I completed my master degree in fine art, I basically just packed the suitcases and just felt like, well, I'm just going to try something new. And
that's really brave.
Yeah, I came to England to my best friend who was here at the time. Couldn't speak a word in English.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And learn really with my own determination. And I had English landlords. I said to my best friend, you have to speak to me in English. I watched lots of, films and documentaries in English, even if I would understand only half of it. So I just like couldn't be in other country and just not speak this language. It just didn't feel right to me at all. So obviously the beginning is always pretty crazy when you come to the new country, especially when you don't speak the language. But after a while, changing the jobs and doing loads of crazy different jobs, learning the language as well, I very slowly started to coming back to my art, and the intuitiveness and the connection with the with the energy and with the divine really started after my I've done first and second degree of angelic Reiki, and to connect to the angelic realm it was a whole weekend course. It really changed. It just changed something in me. It's like, you know, we come in life and do things for certain reason. Our soul chooses different things, and for me it was okay. I had to go through all these steps to be in that point in different country, and do this angelic Reiki, and then be really, really connected to the guides. And that's how everything started. So how I started to paint since then is really intuitively
Guided.
and yeah, and the example is like, I don't prepare anymore for my paintings. You know, I used to have inspiration, you know, thinking, write the story, colors and everything. Now I go in and it's more like a channeling session,
like a blank canvas, and the energy just comes through.
That's exactly,
and
yeah.
You just kind of, I'm guessing you just kind of move your consciousness aside,
yes,
and allow everything to flow through you.
Which was one of the most difficult things to do, because I know loads of channelers can do that very naturally. And I too, now, but I had to discover this, because I always like to, you know, be like over the control of things. And then, you know, having 5 years at the university, I think I know loads of intuitive artists who found it easier paint intuitively because they never had any art uni or any art school, because they didn't have this like
structure.
Yes. And then you have a structure for 5 years and you think like, I can't paint any other way.
Right.
But you actually can if you just open
I would
yourself.
think that you expand your abilities by surrendering.
Absolutely.
And stepping back and just letting it flow.
Absolutely.
Which I love. I love your art.
Thank you.
It really speaks to me. The frequency of it really speaks to me.
Yeah, so this is one of the part which is like the most important as well. It's not even what it is on the painting, but it's the frequency and the vibration. And after, like I said, after doing angelic Reiki, then I started really my spiritual journey as I called myself a little bit like spiritual artist, intuitive artist, because the paintings itself, they have a purpose, not only to be on the wall or be a part of the, you know, interior, but also help and support people who will buy them. And most of the clients who buy the paintings, they buy the paintings because they speak to them. So most of the people say like, is something there that I feel, and that is why I need to have this painting in my house.
Right. It's light encoded.
Yes.
So they're feeling the frequency. They're not consciously aware that they are reading the frequency or receiving something. And I feel like many people could look at the same painting and have a different interpretation, because everyone is in a different harmonic frequency. So they're going to receive to the level that they can receive.
Absolutely.
Frequency. It can be very high, where they're really going to get the full impact of the energy in the piece, or it can be even very low, but they're still going to have some sort of connection to it. And the gradient of energy that they can receive is really based on where they are vibrationally.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
Right. So how long have you been doing the more intuitive painting versus the structured?
Yeah. I would say maybe 4 years, because I've done my angelic Reiki in 2019. I started painting a little bit intuitively beforehand. In 2020, when everything started to going crazy around the world, I, in the middle of the year, I decided to fully become the artist. So I quit my job. I literally quit my job. Yeah.
Wow.
Which was
What was that like? That's a very bold
it was
move.
so
Scary.
free. No, it was
Oh, you
so
were free.
I went to the
Wow.
park. I just looked at the sky and I thought, oh my God, thank you, universe, because I finally can do what I love and what I came here for.
Yes.
So
Oh,
it was
wow.
really, really free. And it was the second time in my life when I've done something crazy, like not knowing the future, really. Yeah, the outcome. But so far, 2 years after, I'm still keep going, and I'm very grateful, for everyone who, invest in my art and invest in me as well, in my sessions. So it was, yeah, so it's not really long time, but it's funny because like when you do what you love and you feel how good you are at it, not in terms of like big-headed or whatever, but like inside
No, it's
inside your
fulfilling,
heart.
right? It's sparking
Absolutely.
something
Yeah,
inside
sparking,
of you,
exactly.
right? Yeah.
You just feel like you've done it for whole life. I don't
Yeah.
remember my job anymore. I don't remember
Yes.
doing anything else.
Well, it's really a full expression of who you are as a soul.
Yes.
It's more of us. I think our work is really divinely guided, and I really feel like when you are in your lane and doing the work that you're called to do here at this time, your divine work, there is, it's really just becomes an expression of you as a multidimensional being. It's not just you're human.
Absolutely.
So that is very different from going to a job and doing
Absolutely. And I truly believe, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I truly believe that the new earth will look like that. We all will do what we love.
Yes.
Because the alignment of the energies is no longer for us to be stuck in the reality, which makes us miserable and do something from 9 till 5 just because you have to pay the bills. All this structure, I believe, is crumbling, sadly, in some places or most places, or for some people quite dramatically. But I believe that even this drama, in a couple years time, we will look at it and we will think like it was needed.
Yes, because you have to break down the infrastructure to create something new.
Yeah.
Everything has to crumble and be destroyed so that you can build new foundations, new paradigms, new ways of being. And I think this 2-year pandemic has allowed people to see that you can have work-life balance.
Absolutely. And that something is there inside them. We had time to finally, yes. Don't think that you have to travel to work like 2 hours on the train.
Right.
You had the 2 hours of like drinking your morning coffee and listening to birds.
Right. Yeah.
And that's how simple we forgot the simplicity in life. We forgot about it because we were in this mode of like have to be on this wheel of earning and being the top in the company rather than just be all these things. We just forgot about this beautiful basic.
And I feel like people are organically connected to themselves on a soul level. Your soul is in there, but we've been programmed, like you're saying, to hustle.
Absolutely.
And if you're hustling and you're not creating space for presence, solitude, silence, connection, you lose yourself. You lose that connection.
Absolutely.
And that's when a lot of chaos starts to churn up, because you start to make choices in your life that are guided by the ego and not the soul. But the frequencies now don't support that.
Yes.
So many people who have been only operating from that ego mind are starting to feel a lot of discomfort because the
Yes.
frequencies on the planet don't support that anymore. The veils are being pulled, right? Like the blindfold is being pulled off. So people are feeling the energetic friction
Yes.
of not living from the heart.
Yes.
Right.
And we naturally live from the heart. I know it sounds maybe funny to some people because we, like you said, we've been programmed to not even think about it, but small kids, child, they, like, in terms of creativity, they will paint whatever they want and they will be happy. It will come from within them rather than from the mind and judging. The judgment starts, sadly, I believe, at school, because some child will paint better than other, and the division starts. And then I have loads of people saying, like, because I mostly have my sessions with adults, and they say, well, I didn't paint, or I didn't think, haven't been arty since school time because my art teacher was just like, oh,
Beautiful.
Yeah. So, like, this is the thing. And I also believe the creativity is really opening and broadening this connection with ourselves, because at the end of the day, we are creators. Even if you're not Picasso, or you don't want to paint, you still create. You create every day, every minute of your life. You create food in the kitchen, you create new car, whatever job you do, you're still creative.
You're creating connection, collaboration.
Absolutely.
You're creating through your words, your writing, right? There's
Absolutely.
so many forms of creation. And I think most people don't understand that their frequency is infused in everything they touch and everything they do and everything they speak and everything that they believe about themselves. Their core beliefs are being constantly broadcast through their being.
Yes.
And their life on the planet. Tell me a little bit about you are an intuitive art teacher, so tell me a little bit about that, about how people can work with you or learn from you.
So this is something which I developed as well while I was sort of working on my own, type of painting and how I paint, because I'm not like a normal art teacher, and I never wanted to be. I don't even like word teacher in a way. I feel more that I'm guiding people, to discover this beauty and the creativity within. The sessions are based on some technical tips and things, because I believe that when someone has got this technicality, or they know how to do certain things, the mind doesn't take over, and they still stay in the heart. So the whole point of the session is, and I truly believe they are like a healing session, like you mentioned before when we had the chat before. Art is healing. The colors will heal you. What you paint, how you paint, the structure, the shapes, everything there can really support you. So the sessions basically are based on painting, but also I do guided meditation, and I incorporated speaking through light language as well, because I started to do that too. So it's more, I call them more like holistic art sessions, because there is a combination of, connecting to your guides, connecting with your inner self, the inner creative self. It's also loads of like healing process, and depending really what we do, but it's all about vibration from the colors, how we paint and what we paint. So it's sort of like a mixture of the two, of the painting and the meditating with the art. And very often I let people, rather than me showing how I paint, I hold the energy for the person, and the person basically paints. And I know many people start, this session and like, I never paint, I don't know how to paint, and I don't know, and this all starts. So the first thing is the mind always goes and goes for coffee.
That inner critic, right, is just constantly right there. There's so I think we're so hard on ourselves.
It's just limiting beliefs. It's just our programming. It's nothing else.
Right.
Like I mentioned, small child would sit in front of me and just paint whatever they want, and they
feel
would
good
be
about
proud.
it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly how it would be. Yeah.
So
where the adults are like, oh, I don't know if I can paint. I don't know if I can put this there or that there.
But don't you find like they're divinely guided to you for a reason? It's like their higher self is like, I think you should schedule a session.
Yes. Yeah. I think everything
like they're ready. They're ready to start that process.
Yes.
How long is it? Is it like an hour or 2 hours?
Well, I have two options. I have normally I do my sessions is they are 90 minutes, because I used to do 1 hour, but it wasn't enough for both meditation and painting. And I like people have this painting process as well, because they paint in front of my camera. So, I wanted them to just have this experience. So I extended to 90 minutes just to have a really nice chunk of time for the
meditation. They're not rushing to.
So they're not rushing, they're enjoying, absolutely. But I do have an offer, which is 45 minutes, which is by donation. So anyone can join. I do understand that some people maybe can afford, or maybe, it's different times now. So the 45 minutes is by donation. So whatever your heart tells you, and then it's just a shorter version.
I love that. So they can sign up on your website, and you're in the UK. So people are mindful of the time difference, which I got wrong this morning.
Yeah, well, we sorted out.
I know, I forgot about the time change. But I'm glad we were able to connect. So it's really it feels like, obviously you're a healer through art.
Yeah.
I feel that.
That's what everybody says. I think I still don't believe it fully, I must admit. But this is how I proceed the one-to-one sessions, and this is how I paint the paintings. For my website. This is a very I would say it, I don't even like this word, but very rigid, very disciplined procedure now. I do have this spiritual discipline of myself, because I know how rewarding that is with the end product, i.e. painting. So it's always, the meditation beforehand, my own meditation in front of white canvas. I use crystals. I work with my guides, like I said, with angelic realm too. And I very often, actually almost all the time now, I infuse the white canvas with the light language first. So I connect, almost like this process is just connection with so many, energies going through. And then, like you said, I almost remove myself, although it's a little bit different when you channel, because when you channel, you can sit down or stand up, remove yourself and just channel. Where here you have to physically
do the work, the
painting. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah.
But I very often don't remember the middle part. So I remember the beginning.
Right.
And then not the end, but let's say the middle. And I'm like just standing back and just look at the painting. But I don't remember how almost been painted in a way.
Well, I feel like it's your God self coming through you that you're connecting to. It is you, but a higher dimensional version of you kind of guiding you and bringing all of this beautiful art to life on the canvas. Right? It's all energy, though.
Yes.
I mean, it really is energetic. The frequency of the colors, the frequency of the image, the frequencies in the canvas before you even begin. It's like you infuse the art into the canvas, and then the painting is just actually bringing it to life. It's already there. You're
Yes.
just completing it, sort of.
Yes. Yes.
Sense.
Yeah, that's a very good description. Yes.
Kind of how I feel. Tell me about your awakening process after you went through your healing training. You said you kind of found yourself more on a spiritual path. What did that look like?
To be very honest, that's a very good question. No one ever asked you about it. To be very honest, it's quite painful, and I think everybody can
it
say
is.
I'm very vulnerable. That's who I am. So, it took me a while to clear stuff which I needed to clear, I would say, and most of the time is really through really my own guidance, really, although some other people helped me as well. But I think it's just, you have to go through this, like they call this dark night of the soul, to be on the other side. And I do think it's very important to clear as much, especially limiting beliefs for me.
Yes.
Many things to do with unworthiness, and many things from past lives which were very like
Heavy.
very heavy and very like rooted in my soul journey. But we all know the soul comes here and chooses the path. So my soul was like, okay, it's time to clear this everything out for you to be able to do what you came here to do.
Right. There's always that knowing kind of pulling you forward.
Yes.
But I think the hardest thing is confronting ourselves and really looking in. I find a lot of people feel like they're doing the work. A lot of people have come to me and they're like, I've done the work, I've done all this work, but I find when I actually lean in, they've been really just scratching the surface for many years and not doing the work, which requires us to go so deep and become so vulnerable and honest with ourselves about who we are, how we've been showing up, and recognizing the programming, unconscious programming that we've been living in. And then also having the compassion and kindness towards ourselves, not to judge ourselves, but to really hold space for ourselves and be gentle with ourselves as we go through, like you said, the dark night of the soul. It's really emotionally painful.
It is, and I do agree with you that some people, it's almost like they go into this like mechanism of like, oh no, I don't want to go there.
Look at that. Yeah.
The problem with that is that the energies now, for today especially, is that universe will push you. If you will say no, universe will push you, because it's not like, I used to think that it's like, oh, this horrible, why do I have to go through this and that? And someone explained it to me, which was really nice explanation, that your higher self will always want the best for you. So if you pushing something and say like, oh, I can't do it right now, it's like saying to higher self, oh, I can't do my mission right now.
Right.
And your higher self will be like, no, you are ready, and I'm giving you this, and I know it's going to be painful, but you're going to go through that because you are ready to do your mission.
Yes.
So that's how it works a little bit. And I think if someone is a little bit, like, oh no, I don't want to go there, or I think it's time, especially now, to just really embrace it. Just really embrace it with compassion, with open heart, with open mind. And I do believe that how we go through dark of the soul, I think the collective, especially now, is going through that too.
Absolutely.
And I think one of the most important things, except obviously sending light and love to the planet, is to acknowledge these dark corners. And I had this conversation with my partner, and I said, well, you know, if you have a room and you know some, like you have some dirt in the corners of your room, if you won't look there, you will never know where it is. And you will never clean it.
Right.
So the way of like, I am not looking at the, not, I don't want to call it bad or good, because I don't like even the division, because that's another programming. I believe
more, it's like the shadow. You know,
absolutely,
we have
shadow and light. Yeah,
we have the shadows that we look at, but also what I found is the more you ignore it, you have planned your entire soul evolutionary experience. So if you're going to keep resisting what's being put in front of you, the physical experience is going to be more and more intense until you pay attention and make the choice to let go of that partner that's not aligned, or walk away from that job, or, work something out with your mother or whatever the situation is. You will ultimately be forced to confront yourself. And you can do it easy. You can just accept the message and follow the guidance and stay aligned on your path, and you can take the easy path up the mountain, or you can do it the hard way and just fight and kick and scream and until the universe just literally lays you out with human experience to force you to finally make the choice that's going to move you into your next, soul experience, your soul calling, or whatever your mission is, right?
That is so true. Yeah.
I always say the nudge becomes a hard shove.
Yeah.
Because I was stubborn. My capacity for suffering was great. So I was very stubborn until my higher selves were like, oh no, we're not going to do this anymore. You're just going to get slammed until you pay attention and you start making the choices, because it's time for you to wake up. It's time for you to come forward. Absolutely. It's time for you to let go of these limiting beliefs and this inner critic and all of the things that would keep me from sharing my light and doing my work.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think in a way it's a little bit of like losing identity as well.
Yes, so much.
And I think many people are absolutely terrified of it because how we've been programmed again, because like you have to be this someone, if you are nobody, then you are like
worthless.
I don't know. Yeah,
you're unworthy, right? You
absolutely.
You don't have value if you don't have something tangible to identify yourself with. And I found, I don't know about you, but 2020 was such a really growth year for me spiritually, because I stopped everything and I just went in deeper. And I really spent about 6 months letting go of every identity, healer, life coach, writer, whatever it was. I'm like, I'm not that. That's just an expression of who I am. That doesn't define who I am. And as I did this deep inner work, I was so silent inside. And as I let go of all of these identities, then I was able to fully move forward as my soul expressed here in human form. And also by letting go of all of those identities, I was no longer attached to the outcome of my work.
Yes. So there's the freedom. It's
It
the
was this,
freedom there.
it was so much freedom because there was no more judgment about success or failure. When you're being the fullest expression of your soul in all the work that you do, there's no success or failure. It's just you fulfilling
And it
your
just
mission.
flows.
It's life flows, right?
Yeah.
Everything flows, not only your work, but just energetically as we are more and more clear. It's like the seas part, like life becomes easier. Clients come, opportunities come. You know, you travel and you get a room upgrade, or your flight, you walk through to us at the airport and I just walk up, there's no line at TSA. You know, it's
Yes.
just like life just, it's these little things that at first you don't really notice, but then it's like the seas part because energetically you're just in the flow and you're not, I don't know, letting go of that ego identification for me was really freeing, like you said.
Yeah.
It's
just very hard for many people to do this, let go, or to lose their identity. Some people don't even understand how that can be possible, because we are being born, with the name and then the title and then the school and then the job and house and everything, and we have these things, and we had it for such a long time that for someone to say like, oh, I'm gonna detach myself or like let go of it, and I'm not saying let go like, stop living in the house or with your family or whatever, but energetically just really like stop, identify yourself with it. It's like, for many people it's like, so if I am not this, who am I?
Who am I? Exactly. Who am I? And that
is the moment where I'm very uncomfortable,
right?
But that's the moment where, if you, like you said, quiet yourself and focus within, at the best and the easiest example is to just focus on your breath. How many times a day we even consciously breathing? And the breath goes in and out without, anyone telling us. It happens, it flows. So just to really, really quiet yourself and found this sparkle of your goddess or God within you, because that is who you are. If you wonder who are you after losing all this identity, this is who you are. Our hearts are connected with the galaxy, with the universe. And that's not any woo-woo speaking, that's actually scientifically proven. So if the heart electromagnetic field is much higher and stronger than the brain is, and we can connect to the galaxy, who can we be? We are part of the galaxy. We are light beings within this body.
And we're infinite. We're
absolutely
also infinite beings, which means everything is possible because we're infinite. We're master creators. And the only thing that is, created those blockages is our human programming and conditioning. So it's really about having the courage to start breaking down those programs. And it is a process. I mean, it took you and I both a lot of time and inner work to break down those barriers and those limiting beliefs, and those, for me, unworthiness was like a huge thing. Like I could only give, I couldn't receive abundance. I could always give, but I had to be very conscious about shifting my mindset to actually also receive abundance and feel worthy of it. That was a big pivot for me.
You said really good thing about the unprogramming and that it takes quite long time. I'm a massive fan of Dr. Joe Dispenza.
He's so good. His work is
he's so amazing.
Good.
And he actually was one of the first people I started to listen. I have his book and meditations and everything, and after realizing how programmed my mind was, and I was saying that to one of my friends, I said, it won't take me one day, it won't take me 1 month, because after 40 years of programming,
Right.
you can't do it in 1 day.
No.
It's
It's
just
a process.
so deep. It's a process.
Yes.
It's really about, and he explained it so beautifully, because he explained it in a scientific way as well. I started to physically building up different neurons in my brain about being positive, about, appreciating different things rather than think what I don't have or how not good I am and all this stuff. Just really, it was really scientific process in a way.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And it really is in a way at the beginning, because you really have to, it's like with the computer, you just have to change the program.
Right. And I think also another way to relate to it in a computer way is we're deleting old software and we're upgrading.
Yes.
Our human is upgrading right now. We're upgrading our frequencies. We're upgrading our software.
Yes.
We're upgrading our coding.
Absolutely. DNA code. Absolutely.
Our DNA coding.
Yeah.
And so that happens, like we said, gradually, but also it happens by shifting your perspective. As we shift our perspective and we become more aware that we're not our title, our car, our income, we're not defined by the opinions of anyone but ourselves. As we can embrace and shift our perspectives little by little by little, it's like climbing that mountain, and every time you hit that nexus point a little bit higher, your perspective and what you're seeing, your consciousness
much broader,
expands. The vista that you see is a little broader, and you change the way you look at things, and then the things you look at change, like Wayne Dyer says, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change, and you keep going higher and higher and expanding your consciousness gradually. And pretty soon, you've rewritten your programming.
Yes.
You've remapped your DNA. You've recreated your life, and you live from a more empowered space, and you're not as controlled by the media, public opinion. You just start to really follow your inner compass. Yeah.
And I think when that happens and what happened to me, it was like, wow, like I'm like different person, like I know this stuff, like I know something intuitively, I can watch someone and feel like, oh, this is right information, this is maybe not so right for me, we have so many realities happening simultaneously now that it's not about good or right or this information is correct or not, because to everything what's happening in the world now is 1,000 different layers with very complex situations everywhere. And I'm not talking about like a proper situation, but energetical as well, and how that changes us and how that changes the land of particular country. It's just
the
like
landscape. It's
absolutely
so different. And I think people are so used to looking at the surface event. They don't see that there are multidimensional, as above, so below. There are things happening multidimensionally that are being expressed here on Earth and unfolding. And that a lot of these seemingly tragic events are moving humanity forward.
Yes.
They're creating unity, they're creating connection, they're creating a desire to help and serve and support each other versus serving the self. There's so many things that are being gifted to us through tragedy and war and heartbreak. And there are people who can't see beyond the actual event and understand there are, like you said, many layers to it that are shifting the planet and shifting the way we relate to each other as human beings and relate to ourselves.
Absolutely. And we have to remember how all we are connected, energetically. every single human on this planet. It's like with trees or fungus, we just connected, really big energetic cords together with all of us. And what I wanted to emphasize, because I think it's very important, we were talking about losing identity, but we actually not even the skin and the body. The soul that's just the vessel. And many people, especially in the last 2 years, lost the loved ones, lost friends for many different reasons. But because we are connected, and because humanity said yes, and humanity is all of us, said yes to this ascension, said yes to creating the new earth, I believe that these souls who left this existence, this body, they are in etheric legions supporting us on different level energetically. So they are not gone. They're not like, they die and they're not helping.
Well,
they're
energy
supporting us together. Many of them could be our guides, become our guides now, who support us energetically with different transformation we go through the life. So even so, the tragedy happened many times in the last 2 years, and it's still happening, and I believe it's gonna, it has to crumble more. These brave souls, because I call them brave souls, because they just decided, they had this contract at the beginning of their life. They decided that, in one point we're gonna get, and we will be helping humanity from the
other
different
side.
level, from the other side.
And I think also too, the density of the planet makes it very difficult for certain souls to ascend in human form. So they are choosing to exit and continue their ascension or evolution in a different form. Energy is consistent. It's always a constant. It's just changing form. So they're not gone. They've just transitioned. And like you said, many are supporting their loved ones and the planet from the other side, but also they're also working on their own evolution and ascension, which is easier to attain when you're not in this carbon-based human form. So I think we are seeing a lot of people exiting for that reason as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I love our conversation. I could talk to you for hours.
I know.
Don't think you're getting off this call anytime soon. This is my favorite thing to talk about.
I know, so do I, and I think it's important to talk about it because we just, whoever watches the media, they're being bombarded with stuff which just doesn't serve us anymore. It doesn't serve the energy. It doesn't serve, the light codes we're getting in our DNA. We are incredible light beings. Every single one of us can make and really create miracles.
Yes.
In Atlantis and Lemuria time, we could teleportate, we do telekinesis. There's loads of different things we can do, but it's been so suppressed for such a long time that, we just finally starting to discovering this beautiful light within us. And that's how it starts. That's how, when you know that it's there, then you know how powerful this light is. Then you can just really create everything really you wish. And I'm not talking to have massive house or whatever, because abundance as well, I think is being perceived a little bit wrong, and that's another wrong programming and money structure. Abundance is just everything.
There's so many forms of abundance, right?
Absolutely.
There's relationships and love and connection.
Flowers everywhere,
nature, right? So much. And I think we will start to see people reconnecting to the soul. And as more people do that, as more people follow their inner guidance and compass.
Sorry, that's my dog.
That's okay.
Thor. Supposed to go with my partner, he didn't go. Yeah, I knew. Lay down. So lay down. So.
That's okay. I have one too, right here, laying down
Oh,
next to me.
he's quiet. My one
He's
didn't.
sleeping.
Oh, that's
But,
good.
but really what I feel like as more people start to trust their connection,
Yes.
they'll continue to make more aligned choices. And the more
Yes.
people that connect and light up and start to really follow their inner guidance, that they will start adding a higher frequency to the collective. And we're seeing that now already.
Yes, I agree. Yeah, yeah.
And that will really create impact on the world.
I actually think because there's so much light in the collective, that is why we see so much crumbling. Because
Absolutely.
this is what I said with the room, you know, if you shine the light in the dark room, you will see every single corner, whatever is there. So in a way, is it, you know, if you will look from the like positive perspective, actually, whatever is happening in the world now, it actually brings the hope of the fact that so many people are spreading the light, because so much of the darker corners is being show up and cleared.
Yeah.
So I know many people like struggle with seeing it that way, and I do understand. But I think, like I said, when we lose the identity, when we let it flow, and when we open our heart more than mind, we start to think the perspective slightly different. Like you said about the walking around the mountain, you know, things just looks differently, and you can see the complexity of different events.
And also, I think that the frequencies on the planet are so much higher. That truth is rising, the veils start thinning because the frequencies can only support that.
Absolutely, yeah.
So we're going to see a lot of disclosure.
Yeah.
Not only with corruption and things like that, but also disclosure within ourselves, like our inner truth is rising. And for those people who are really confronting themselves, you know, I would suggest that they be very, very kind and hold themselves with kid gloves as they go through this process, because it's time for us to really get on our own team.
Yes.
And stop stop breaking ourselves down. It's time for us to start planting that garden and fertilizing the mind, and, you know, encouraging life instead of constantly pouring, you know, Roundup on our minds and souls and telling ourselves we can't do things. It's really time to step into our roles as master creators, and whatever capacity that looks like. Don't you think?
Absolutely. That's a great explanation. Yeah.
What would your advice be to people who are kind of going through these really dark times, confronting themselves, maybe going through breakups or loss or divorce? I feel like there's so much grief on the planet right now as people are letting go of like old aspects of themselves and letting go of friends and relationships that no longer serve them. What would you offer?
I think the most important thing is to have a compassion to yourself, you know, like you mentioned, because I know myself when I go through, you know, different times in my life, I almost like feel like, oh, you know, like why should I do it? And I start to really almost like tell myself off for like going through that. But actually it should be completely opposite. Just have a compassion that, you know, you're going through whatever you're going through now, and embrace it in a way. I know it's the hardest thing, but when you do that, you let the energy flow and you let this feeling flow through you, and it's less, I don't want to use damaging word, but
maybe painful.
Yeah, it's just flows, you know. I mean, I always cry. I don't know if people cry too. It's such a good release, you know.
Right.
and just really have a compassion to yourself, because
Mhm.
it shall pass. Like it will not stay the same. Tomorrow it will be another day with sunny day, and you will have a new opportunity, new brief. You know, everything will be different in every moment, really. So I think the compassion is the biggest thing, and also the letting go, like we mentioned, of identity. Um, the easiest way, in my opinion, is to really say to yourself, well, it actually doesn't matter what I do and what I have, and what matters is really my own breath in this moment.
Mhm.
I mean, the power of now, is amazing example of it. And mindfulness, just really live in the moment. Even if I remember when I used to go to work, which I really, really struggled. I work in the shop as a sales advisor first, but then I was doing merchandising, so it was a little bit creative, but still. Because in that point I knew I want to paint, I want to teach, and so it was really, but the periods of time, I think it was year and a half, and listening to Joe Dispenza and all the other wonderful people, I used to go and had my morning tea or coffee at work, and I actually had this 5 minutes just really enjoying this taste of it. It was just this little thing which was making me happy just at the beginning of the day.
Mhm.
Even so, I was in the place I didn't want to be. I struggled like deeply, my emotion. I actually felt there. That's why maybe I felt so free when I just quit, because I felt like I was in the box, and it was just no air there. Like it was just no air
It was
for me to breathe. Yeah,
crushing
it
your
was crashing
soul to be
big
there.
times. Yeah, at the end
Yeah.
especially.
Yeah.
So I think it was just really important to find this little part of the
Piece of
day,
joy, this little bit
piece
of
of
joy.
joy. Because what does it do? It's not even elevates your energy level. So you straight away give the universe, a nudge of like, I'm happy, so I'm like whole. Even so, I don't have whatever I want to have, but I'm whole in this moment. And the universe is saying, well, I'm going to give you more of that then.
Right.
If you're whole, you're going to have more of wholeness.
Right.
But also what that helped me with was just really like discovering this little simple moments of tasting the tea, this freshness and the sugar and whatever you drink. It's not about the actual specific thing, but it was just the taste and the pleasure of it. And like we talked about Joe Dispenza as well before, you basically planting new neurons in your head by doing that. So I remember it was a point where I was doing that like every day. It was my ritual. I was coming to work 5 minutes before, making myself tea, and have this 5 minutes just really enjoying it. Maybe put something on my headphones and listen some podcast or video or music, whatever it was, but just really, really focus on the beauty of that. So that's very, very important, because and that's obviously from law of attraction and Abraham Hitchcock. I don't know if you probably know. I'm big fan. I love them. So it's really about how you holding yourself in the now moment. How are you now? Because at the end of the day, no matter what's happening around you, and I'm sorry I'm saying that, but even if you're dying, you're not actually dying. Your soul is still whole. It's still the sparkle. So because of the beliefs and programming we had for many years, this been, like you said, the veil has been removed now. It was just really foggy. We didn't see it. We didn't see because the fog was, having new car, having better job, working longer hours, having better marriage, whatever you will name it. And that doesn't mean that I don't like pretty things. I love painting. I love supporting small businesses. I like buying clothes which are
Sure.
handmade and stuff like that.
Sure.
But it's the way of how we perceive the having things or the identity of ourselves
Right.
compared to who we really are.
They don't define us.
Not at all.
Yeah, like we will still be whole and complete with it or without it. But there are a lot of people who are fully defined.
That is why I always say
that.
go back to the breath, because the breath will always bring you to the now moment and to the sparkle within you, because no matter what's happening around you, your breath is still in and out. It's just going in and flowing in and out, and it's flowing, So I think this is the best way of, and the breathing technique and the breathing meditation, it helped me at the beginning, and I try to incorporate that with my own meditation with the clients as well, because I think it brings you to a different state of mind, where the mind is just having like a break. I always have a lab that is going for like a coffee break, and you're really focusing within, because you focus on the breath. And when you do that, you just focus on the breath and you go down deep in your heart space, because there's no other option. Like, in a way, like it's just no other option. When your brain goes for break, it's no other option than just slide down into the heart space. And I do believe that this losing identity is like that a little bit, because the identity is the ego, which we always been shown how bad the ego is, and if you have an ego, you are this and that. But the ego is actually the element of us which just keeps us safe. It's just, I believe, it has been hijacked in a way of programming us. So nowadays, the ego will be terrified if you will lose the job, because you will know you won't have the money to, leave. Where your heart, if you drop to the heart space, your heart will say like, but you will do what you love. So it will flow. But it's not easy, I would say, to trust only heart. But I think we are being
guided
almost
direction.
Pushed now.
Yes. Shoved.
Yes.
Shoved harder.
Absolutely.
To trust and have faith. I think it's a process. Clearly, you and I have done a lot of work on ourselves to get here. And a lot of people are at the very early stages of going through clearing and the letting go and breaking away from that ego identification, who they are mentally versus who they are as a soul.
Yes.
But I really feel that things are shifting.
Oh, yeah.
And the more of us that are anchoring light on the planet and living true to ourselves are setting a template for others to follow also.
Yes.
And so we had to go through a lot of really hard work to get here. But I feel like those tracks are laid so people who are coming up behind us will have an easier way and maybe transition a little bit faster. Those of us who are doing our work before all of these higher frequencies started really coming in to assist humanity have kind of laid the tracks for others to follow. And their journey will be their path will be a little easier. It's like clearing the trail.
Yes, I agree. That's a very great explanation. Yeah, I agree with that.
Well, Maggie, I have enjoyed every moment with you. Thank you so much for being here. And don't go away. I'm just going to thank my audience. Thank you so much for joining us today for this enlightening conversation. Wherever you are, I hope you have a beautiful day and love yourselves. And we'll talk to you next time. Bye.
Bye.